Okay, so before we get started in earnest talking about the structured query language, or SQL, what I wanted to do was install the SQL Server Management Studio Express. It's a free download. The technique for doing that is a little bit contrived in so much that it's just not as easy as installing a regular application. Unfortunately, based on the way that the SQL Server installer works, you're going to have to go about and uninstall SQL Server 2008 Express Edition and then reinstall it with the tools. It sounds like a lot of work. However, if you take that general approach, it should work. So the first thing let's do is just download the SQL Server 2008 Express with tools. Make sure you type that in. You don't need these little trademark symbols. Microsoft SQL Server 2008 Express with tools. Search on that, and when you do, you'll come to this download details item in the Bing search engine. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that there are two versions. One for those of you who have 64-bit processors, or if you have the old x86 architecture, then you can download that. So it's 218 megs. I've already gone ahead and downloaded that file, and it's in my downloads directory. We'll come back to that in a minute. First things first, however, I need to go about the unfortunate task of uninstalling SQL Server Express Edition, once already on my computer. So I'm going to select the control panel from the Windows Start menu, and I'm going to go to uninstall a program, and I'm going to select SQL Server 2008, right click it and select uninstall, and I'm going to choose the remove option on the dialog, and we'll take a few minutes. I'm not going to comment on every little dialog you see. It wants to know which instance to remove. I should only have one to remove. I'm going to select all and click next. And then I'm going to sit back after I click this next button and click this remove button, and it'll probably take 5 minutes or so to uninstall. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video right there. Alright, so after a few moments you should see the progress has succeeded, and you can click close, and then SQL Server will be gone. There might be a few remnants there, but it's gone, trust me. Okay, so now what we're going to do is double click on our download that we did just a few moments ago from Microsoft's site. It wouldn't be a bad idea to reboot. I'm going to go ahead and take a chance and not reboot this time. I've been through this a couple of times already. And I'm going to click Run when we see that dialog, and this warns us that there's a newer version, Service Pack 1. Don't worry about that for now. Let's just go ahead and click Run Program. And I'll minimize these windows. And yes, UAC, I want to indeed run this application. Okay, and I've seen this error a couple times. Everything seems to work fine even though I say continue. So if you see that error, just go ahead and continue past it. It doesn't seem to hold up anything. Alright, so I'm going to go down to installation on the left hand side, and then select new SQL Server standalone installation to add features to, or add features to an existing installation. I tried that. It doesn't work with, that's why we had to uninstall. So we just uninstalled, and now we're installing from scratch. Okay. And there were some forum posts that seemed to indicate the same thing, that other people had the same situation happen sometimes. A lot of different moving parts all trying to work at the same time. Alright, so we're going to just click next past the product key and accept the license terms. Install the setup support files. Alright, whenever you see the setup support rules and the checks and a warning on Windows Firewall, you can move past Windows Firewall. But if there's anything that says failure here, you're going to need to read the instructions and get your computer in a state where it won't fail during that particular step of the checks. So typically there'll be a hyperlink underneath a particular failure with more information, and then you can consult Microsoft's own forums for more information on that. I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'm going to go ahead and select all. You know what? I don't need SQL Server replication. I'm going to deselect that. It's only a few bytes, but hey, you don't really need replication for now. Click Next. Now it's going to start asking a series of questions about what you want to name the instance of SQL Server. SQL Server, you can have several instances running at the same time, named instances to partition your usage of SQL Server for different purposes. For right now, we're just going to have a single instance. We're going to leave it default name to SQL Express and select the Next button on the dialog. And we're going to confirm the disk requirements, disk space requirements. Okay, so here it's going to ask for the service accounts. And what I'd recommend here, if you try to go past this, you're going to get an error message. What it needs is an account that it should run under. And they typically suggest that SQL Server runs on the lowest possible privileged account. So if you're running as an administrator, that might not be a good idea in production, because then if somebody discovers the production, or you might, it goes to how Windows security works, and I don't want to get into a long discussion about it, but typically you should always create roles for your servers and your network that have just enough permissions to do the task that you need it to do, and then you can revoke those permissions or add permissions, revoke roles or add roles as time goes on. But in my particular case, quite honestly, I'm going to select use the same account for all SQL Server services, and then under account name I'm going to select the system. I could select network service, it'll work the same way. If you try to put a password in, you won't get one. It's just going to use the fact that you're logged into Windows as the administrator on the machine. It'll use that as the account that SQL Server now runs under, which is fine. All right, so now we should be able to move on. Here, it's going to ask for a SQL Server administrator. Once again, I'm going to add the current user, which will be the administrator, or have at least administrator privileges. There we go. And once we do that, we can move on. I'm not going to select any of those options for error and usage reporting. And after a quick check, then it's going to begin the installation process. And this will take another 5 minutes or so. All right, so we're going to pause the recording once again while the installer goes to town. Okay, and after a few moments you can see that the setup is complete. We have our management tools as well. And we'll close this and close this. And we get that error message again. I honestly don't know what that means, but apparently I need to select quit. Okay, so now let's go to all programs in Windows 7 and select SQL Server, and you can see now we have an entry for the SQL Server Management Studio, and I'm going to click that, and it's going to ask what server do you want to connect to. We only have one. This is going to be the name of your machine, and this is going to be the instance of SQL Express. So if you named it something different than SQL Express during installation, then you're going to need to specify that here. Also, just a single dot will work, I believe, in most cases. Let's see if that works. Okay, maybe not. So let's just go back to SQL Express. Let's try and be fancy there. Connect. There we go. Okay, so first thing we're interested in here in the Object Explorer, hey, that looks a lot like the Server Explorer. Yep, it sure does. There's going to be some similarities there. So we can see that there's the database that we created, that acme.mdf, is not associated with SQL Server anymore. That's because we uninstalled SQL Server, which is just a process that runs all the time as your computer's running. And when we uninstalled it, it removed the initial connection that was created automatically by the Visual C# tools to basically install it into SQL Server. So now we got to do that all over again manually, but this is good because you'll see how this works. So I'm going to right-click Databases and select Attach. And when I do that, it pops open the Attach Databases dialog. I'm going to select the Add button. And now I'm going to navigate down. Now you can see it somehow already found the database. That's because I've already been through the screen once. But at any rate, in my particular case, all my projects are saved in the Documents directory under Visual Studio 2010, and so then I'll just find the project that I'm looking for under the projects folder, which is exactly what we have here. So users, Robert Tabor, documents. I kept drilling down to Visual Studio 2010 projects, and then found day 6, where we created yesterday all of our code, and you can find here our acme.mdf. And when I click OK to that, and click OK a second time, it now gives us a way to access our database tables. Awesome. Take a look at that. Got our customer table. I can even right click and select top 1000 rows, and we're going to see our Wile E. Coyote and Bob Tabor records listed there. Okay, so that seems to work just fine. So in the next video, what we're going to do is create a new query. So I'm going to click the new query button, and this will allow me to write some script, some structured query language script that I can use for ad hoc purposes, or I can use to build SQL objects like tables and constraints, and I can use it to build stored procedures like we're going to learn, I guess, later today. So there's a lot at this point that we can learn how to do from this tool. So let's stop right there, and we'll pick it up in the next video. Thank you.